Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. I have a wonderful guest for you today. His name is James Padilla. He's a founder of Gain the Edge, and he's known as the personal development and business coaching guru in the world of the go-to guy for all things connected to sales. He is a master collaborator whose purpose is to help entrepreneurs leverage the power of collaboration to scale their business so they can impact the world in the way that they intended. Jim, a very, very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Good to connect again.
It's such a pleasure. I know you've got so much to share with our viewers and our listeners about sales. And sales can be a very, very scary word, can't it? And many people will do anything they can to avoid talking to a prospect. So what is the mindset? What is the secret to the mindset of having great sales calls and booking as many clients as possible?
Man, that question can go 100 different directions.
I know.
But to me, it really boils down to just, our tagline here is that it's not what you're saying, it's who you're being while you're saying it. And you can apply that to anything. It's not what you're doing, it's who you're being while you're doing it. Our actions and our words, they only have the meanings that we give them. But it's who we're showing up as that can't be misinterpreted. When you show up powerful and strong, that's what you're seen as. When you show up as, a manipulative, judgmental person, that's what it shows up. When you show up happy, loving, carefree, that's what it is. You can't misinterpret that, but it's easy to misinterpret words, right, and actions. So you just really have to focus on, are you being the person that you need to be? And that's how we actually define leadership. Leadership is synonymous with sales. And leadership, to me, is becoming the person that other people will follow willingly to make a decision for their own best interest. So if you're constantly checking yourself against that, then am I being the person that is being the ideal person for you to be able to follow me to make a decision in your own best interest? And anything outside of that just needs to be discarded, because that doesn't serve the purpose. So I'm constantly focusing on, how do I be that person for you?
Excellent. And I want to dig into this because this is actually an absolute gem you've already shared with us. What is your history? How have you come to be doing what you do? How did you get into sales? And what part has mindset played in your success?
Well, I like many of us, right? I learned some things the hard way in my life, and started in my childhood. I grew up in a very difficult, challenging environment. And my parents were teenagers when I was born, and my dad took off, and my mom was left to raise a kid, and she had no idea what she was doing or how to do it. And her response to a very challenging situation was to respond with fear and anger and rage. And so I got beat severely my entire childhood. And that's, with baseball bats, broomsticks, plates, fists, whatever was in hand. And I ended up in foster care at 13, on the streets at 16, and in jail at 19. And I spent the first 25 years of my life trying to figure out how to make sure that the people around me didn't want to hurt me. Right. And so what most kids were thinking about, dreaming about being astronauts and all, and puppy dogs and all stuff. That wasn't my childhood. Yeah. I literally spent every waking moment trying to figure out, how can I if I need this to happen, what are the 10 things that need to happen before it? So I spent all of my time trying to read that person. Yeah. How do I structure this scenario, environment, all the time? I would come home, try to figure out, how do I make my mom not feel threatened and want to hurt me? Because I didn't know. I always thought it was my fault. Exactly. Right. And then in foster care, same thing. And, on the streets, in jail, you're always trying to figure out, how can I bend the room towards my environment? So I spent so much time just studying people and figuring out how to not be their enemy. It didn't mean I needed to be a pushover, kissing people's butt and be fake. It just meant, how can I show up as the person that would lead them to do something for their own best interest? But it was primarily because I needed that. I needed the best version of them, so that the best version of them wouldn't want to hurt me.
You had to keep yourself safe.
Correct. So that was my end game, was me staying
Mm.
alive.
Wow.
But I had to do it by helping them become something they wanted to be.
And that is really the school of hard knocks, isn't it?
Amen. Amen. And the problem with that is I didn't have any real role models in my life, some teachers and some coaches. But I figured out everything that I needed to become a man. I figured out on my own, and I figured it all out by screwing it up first. So I made a mess and a disaster of my life. I used these skills that I was gaining for my own benefit. I didn't use them for the other person's benefit. I did it for my own personal selfish gain. And so as I moved into sales, I didn't realize I was selling my whole life as a childhood. It just, as I started, growing up, I got into network marketing and credit collections. I opened a alarm company. I was a decade in mortgage. I've always been selling and influencing. Problem is I was always selling and influencing for me. Everything I did was designed to make sure I win. And the skill set's the same. The intention is very different. And so the impact on people can be different. I feel like, influence is a superpower. And when you use it on people, you can destroy them. When you use it for people, you can change their life. And that's the subtle difference for me. And the real big shift came in 2008 when I was in mortgage and all the crazy, housing market crash here. And I got out. I was leaving as I saw it coming. So I got out of the industry, but I had put a lot of bad loans in place for people that all started flipping. And I was in a gas station in the summer of 2008, and I saw a client for somebody who was a kid I coached in basketball, was their parent. And, and I saw her at a gas station, and her mother, I did a loan for. Her mother was older, retired. And she told me that, you're the devil, you're a crook, and you deserve whatever you can get, because my mother is now living in that car. And that at that very moment, I took, like, everything flashed through me, all my childhood, all the stuff that I've done, all the things that I knew. And the reality of what she said, I knew she was right, because I did. I didn't care. I knew she was potentially going to end up in her car, but I made a lot of money to put her in that loan, so I didn't care. And everything, right in that moment, I just said, okay, I know how to do this, but I've got to change how I'm doing it, because even ill-gotten gains don't ever benefit. We did this all the wrong way, so it ended up costing us. We ended up at the time when all this stuff happened, and we lost all the mortgage went bad. We ended up, for my wife and I ended up short selling a couple of homes, foreclosing, filing bankruptcy. Easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
And it was like, realize, okay, it's time to start doing this for the right reasons instead of to make money. And that was 2008, so it's 10 years ago. That's when I started working on my own sales process in a way that I stripped out everything about sales that I didn't like. Anything that made me feel bad, made a client feel bad, put them in the wrong space. And then I put in all the things that lead people to make a great decision. So, because you make decisions from your best possible state. So I spend all of our sales processes about helping you get to the best possible state so you can see clearly without obstruction. Then you can make a great decision, whatever that decision is. And I truly don't care what the decision is. I just want it to be made from the right place. Because if you make it from a place down here and among the junk, then it's not a real decision. It's a response to something. And I don't want you to respond to anything. I want you to make a powerful decision. And sometimes you just need help making that decision. But again, I want to be that ally. So we take a park bench approach to sales. And I believe that you should be able to sit on a park bench with a random stranger, and in 30 minutes, you should know what they want, why they want it, what's keeping them from getting it, how committed are they to solving it, and when do they want to do it. And that doesn't matter what you're selling. That's just problem solving. So when you're sitting on a park bench solving a problem, it's the problem you need solved. When we're in a sales conversation, I'm trying to get you to solve the problem I want you to solve, right? Difference.
Can you say that again, please?
So, yeah, absolutely. The park bench approach is sitting next to somebody, walking with them to help them get clear about something they need. Most sales conversations are about helping you get clear about what I need you to be clear about so you can buy from me.
I see. So the focus is on the prospect and what they need, and the focus is not on what you need as the salesperson.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's ironic because I have a lot of sales conversations, but I talk to people all the time, and it's not about. I don't talk to them about what I want them to talk about. I'm in a lot of groups and masterminds, and I'm very active on social. My thing I love doing most is talking to people. So I'm always finding ways to engage people. And I have tons of conversations with people who will never be a client of mine. And I could tell by the dialogue before I even invite them to a conversation that they probably won't ever be a client of mine. But I get them on a call anyway because I want to help them. I know that 10 minutes with me on a phone call will probably solve just 90% of the problems you might have. Let's solve one problem in 10 minutes. I don't care who it is or what you're doing. Let's figure it out. Why should you struggle when I can help you? Whether I can help you with a quick insight or an introduction, or maybe I've got something I can sell you. I don't know, but that's not the objective. It's how many people what I really want. This is my selfish motivation. I want everybody in the world to owe me a favor. That's not the outcome I want, but that's the vibe I want. I want everybody to feel like, man, he's a good guy. He helped me out. And then at some point, it'll come back to me from them or some other way.
Yeah.
So if I could set my world up that way all the time, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to introduce you to somebody. I'm going to share something with you. Then everybody, this is again how I spent that childhood, right? Structuring the environment so that everybody thought, hey, he's all right. Let's not hurt him. That was how it started.
Yeah, and when you were a child, that came from a place of fear to keep
Totally.
yourself safe. But now it's not coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a really positive intention to help people and give value, whether they buy from you or not. And that's
Exactly.
a completely different place to be, isn't it?
Yeah. And the amazing result has been that the total reaction to that has been people go out of their way to help me.
What you give out comes back to you
Totally.
tenfold.
Totally. And so I get people all the time that are introducing people to me, and and it's always with this extra, I got an introduction from somebody the other day, and we didn't have that kind of relationship together. So I don't know where it came from, but he just observed it in me, I guess. But he introduced me to somebody who has, pretty big business and things going on. He introduced me as the sales guy. He goes, he's a great guy, understands sales. He works with a lot of really big clients. He's got a huge heart. He's a good guy you want to know. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I like that. That's
very cool.
Tacked on. People are like, man, I can tell how much you care, or and it's never been my intention. Quite honestly, when those comments started coming, it used to bother me because I used to be like, I don't want to be known as the guy with a big heart. I want to be like the man. Come on, shut up. I'm the guy. But I have come to wear that as a badge of honor now.
Absolutely, it's a huge honor and a huge compliment.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that transition where you went from doing it for getting money, to make money, to doing it for a much higher purpose. How did your mindset shift? What happened, and how has it made a difference in your life?
It's interesting because I really wish I could say it was one moment. That definitive moment was probably the most definitive moment was the one I was talking about in the gas station, because that was reality playing out in front of me. But this has really been a lifelong process, because I can remember, like, when I was 10 years old, I remember very distinctly, I got in trouble. My mom loved to mentally beat me before she would physically, go to the room and you think about what's coming. And sometimes I had to be in my room for 5 hours before she would come in and beat me. Right. So it's got all the mental anguish and stuff too. But I knew a big beating was coming for something that I did. And I told myself, I said, I'm not going to let her see me cry. She will not win. She could beat me all she wants. I will not show her that it hurts. And so I went through this process in myself. I said, I'm going to watch this happen. So I literally took myself out of the body and I watched myself. And it was one of the biggest beatings I ever got because I didn't show pain and I wasn't going to cry. Oh. And so she made her mad. Right. Yeah. And I just refused. But so I literally that day turned something off in me, but I watched a process happen. I was like, okay. So now I see that I'm actually in control. The things that happen to me don't dictate who I am.
Yes.
My response to it dictate. Now, I certainly couldn't have articulated it that way at 10 years old, but that's what was happening. Right now, I didn't know how to control it necessarily, but I knew that was a reality. That was a factor. And then part of my all the trouble that I got in, another big moment was when I was 19. We got pulled over. Me and a friend. We were doing bad stuff. we had a car full of illegal substances and weapons and a lot of stupid things. And we got pulled over at 2 a.m. And I won't say the city because this is a bad thing, but there was a group of police officers. There was 4 police cars that ended up pulling us over. And we were there on the side of the road for an hour. It was me and a friend. We were going to jail. We were going to go, we had felony stuff all over the place. And I was more intimidating. So they locked me up, stuck me in the backseat of one of the cars. And then my other friend, Russ, they abused him because he succumbed. We were both in the same situation. I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen to us? Can I survive it? Okay, cool. So I'm not going to die right here. Right. So I immediately went to this place of I'm going to observe this happen. And Russ flipped out. He was crying, sobbing, peed his pants. They were, pouring out all the alcohol. They took all the drugs. We found a BB gun, took it out and was shooting it off the hood of Russ's car. Right. And at that moment, I knew I'm observing this whole thing and I'm going, okay, now this is taking a turn because these guys are clearly not going to arrest us because if they were, they wouldn't be shooting a BB gun off the hood of our car. So now I thought, okay, these guys are going to take our stuff and they're going to beat the crap out of us. That's what I was preparing for. I was like, okay, I would rather have that than go to jail. So bring it on. I will be your punching bag if that's what you need to do, But this whole process, I'm just going through this mental thing where most people are probably freaking out, go, oh my God. And that's what Russ was doing. So I was just observing the situations. Why am I doing this? And why is Russ doing that? We're both in the same situation. I could be freaking out over there too and probably should have been. But I was like, well, what's going to happen is going to happen. The most important thing here is how am I going to respond to what's going to happen? Right. And so these moments, there's been dozens of these moments throughout my life where I just see, here's some things change. And I started recognizing that I thought it was something that I could do, like a magic that I was figuring out. But when I started realizing this is something that we can all do. Right. It's just training the brain to really understand it. The only difference between me and most people is I've got, I call them experience units. So every time you do it, you get a unit of experience. Right. And then you start observing it. And then when you observe it, you gain another unit of experience. And then you practice it and you gain another unit, and you teach it and you gain another unit. And so I just got thousands of experience units. So it's more of something like a tool that I can manage, but it's not because I'm magical. It's just because I've happened to observe it. Now, just the biggest tool and the greatest part of this is that you don't have to be some kind of magical being to figure this out. You just have to be aware. Now that you're aware, by listening to this conversation, by being into this conversation, you're now aware that that is the possibility for you. The only difference between it being a possibility for you and being in a reality for you is the choice to believe in it and then start figuring out how to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
This is great stuff.
So immediately when something comes to you, just tell yourself, am I going to, how I respond is going to determine this. What are my options of response? Right. And then, of course, in order to determine what are your options of a response, you now have to flip the situation and say, okay, what is it that I'm responding to? Am I responding to being hit? Am I responding to this person being angry about something? Right. The further upstream you can go to solve, to gain the response, the better you're going to solve it. Right. I could run around and say, okay, I'm in a gang environment and I got guys over here who are dangerous. Now, the best way to avoid being hit is probably hide. Right. Or I go, okay, I would be hit because I would offend them because you don't want to offend them publicly. Or I go further upstream and go, well, I could avoid being in a dangerous situation by being an ally to them. So how could I provide something of value to them? What are the things that would make them want to attack me? And it's not because of hate most of the time, it's usually because of fear. So how can I take fear away from them by being in my world? Right. So those are the things that I'm just going upstream, one step at a time. And you can do that anytime. If you're in a sales call and somebody comes at you and like, this just feels like you're being pushy, then don't get all defensive. Just go, okay, what is it that's making them feel threatened? What is it that's making them feel like I'm pushing something? Now, is it me? It could be me. More likely, it's their response to something I said. Right. So there's times where I say something like, there might be a response where somebody says, this just doesn't, I don't think I should do this. I think you should wait till next year. Like, no, you know what? From what we've been speaking about, you don't have the right to wait till next year. There are people who need what you have, and you do not have the right to make them wait another year because you're the answer to somebody's prayer right now, and you don't want to do the work. That could trigger the hell out of somebody. I mean, who are you calling me lazy? What are you saying about me? Right. And people can get mad about something like that. that's not me being pushy. That's me just being a mirror. I'm sharing to you what I know to be true. And you're the one responding in a way that may not be advantageous. So my job is just to dig into that. And don't take it personal when you lash out and be like, no, Nina, based on what we've been talking about and who I've discovered you to be, that response right now is not typical for you. So what's that about? Why did you respond to me that way? What happened in you? Or you could just get defensive by their response. And now you're both having a conversation about nothing that matters instead of just really getting into the heart of the matter. Because
Yes.
to me, those conversations are where the conversation actually starts. Those moments.
When you're really trying to get to the truth of what's going on.
Totally.
Yes.
Because there's so many different avenues to get there. And that's all I am. Every question that I ask, think about like this. Here's one of the probably best tool that I can help you with is in a sales conversation. Really, any conversation is a sales conversation, no matter what it is, with your wife, with your kids, whatever, your spouse. Every question you ask and they answer, just imagine that every person you ever meet, there's a brick wall between you. And every question that's asked and answered is a brick removed from the wall. Till eventually there's no wall. Now you're on a park bench, you're hanging out. Right? So just keep asking questions. Don't take offense. The moment you get angry, you just put up 10 bricks for every one you took down. Right? Just be here now, be focusing on the best possible outcome for them. And know that, the only way you take bricks out is by you're trying to help elevate their state. Who's the person who's going to be there? What's the best possible version of that person that can show up right now? And it's my responsibility to do everything in my power to help you get there.
Brilliant. I love this stuff. And the key thing is how you turn up to those calls each and every time, as you said right at the beginning of this call. You have a choice. And even when you've been in those situations where you felt, as your friend thought he was cornered, there was nothing he could do, you realized you had a choice even then in how you responded to that very dangerous situation. And having that choice gives you your power back, doesn't it?
Right. Exactly. That's spot on. That's exactly it. Because the number one thing you can have, to me, the number one resource you can have in any environment, in any situation you're in, is a choice. The moment you have no choices, everything's gone. Now fear rises, anxiety hits, tension. Why? Because it should. Because now you're in danger if you don't have any choices. But the moment you have choice, you are now in control. And being in control puts you at ease. And it helps you be able to focus. It helps you be able to make a decision, helps you be able to see that there are, maybe there's nothing but bad options, but there's still a less bad option. So maybe you take that one, right? It doesn't, if you get an IRS bill, something because you're getting audited, well, there may not be a good outcome, but there's certainly a worse outcome. So don't freak out and get angry. Figure out what's the best approach right now.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
And you can still choose to respond to it calmly and try and get a clear mind about how you're going to deal with it. And it's very striking about your life. And you've shared such an amazingly powerful story. I almost had goosebumps as you were telling it, that you chose not to take the meanings from those events saying, I'm a loser, life sucks, I'm never going to make anything of my life, this is how it's going to be. You almost took the learnings and used all those events as teaching events.
Right.
And you stored all those learnings, and now you're using them to devastating effect in your life to create a life that's wonderful for you and for your clients.
Yeah, that is it. And I believe that's actually what I'm calling. I think God has me here. God helped me survive all of this so that I can be that catalyst for change, that inspiration for overcoming. Because I have, not just what I've been through, but what I have seen. There's no excuse you've got. Just do it. Everything is overcomable. You just have to decide that you're ready to overcome it. As long as you're still alive, you've still got choices.
Yes. As long as you're alive, you've got choices, and you have very powerful choices, much more powerful than you even think you have.
Right.
And I just want to go back to the sales conversation. What is your number one sales tip you can share with our listeners, with our viewers who, feel huge resistance to getting onto a call with a prospect, who are really fearing rejection, worrying about the outcome, attaching to the outcome? What's the number one piece of advice you can give them?
You have to understand firmly that you just 100% that right now somebody somewhere is praying for what you can do. You are the answer to somebody's prayer. There's somebody right now in a office, in a closet, in a bed, under the, in a dark place, on a mountaintop, in a valley, somewhere, somebody, if not many somebodies, and they are saying, God, please help me find a solution. And you're that solution, which means you now have the responsibility. If you've decided to step out into the entrepreneur world and make a difference, that means you now have the responsibility to do the work to prepare yourself to be able to meet the needs of the people who need you. That's it. So this is a responsibility conversation. You don't get to say, boy, I wish I could be good at sales. Guess what? You are good at sales. You've been doing it your whole life. What you need to be good at is removing the fears of what people think you're going to be. Don't worry if somebody thinks you're going to be pushy. Don't worry if somebody thinks you're going to be coming on too strong. Don't worry if you think you're going to be categorized as anything specific. Because in my opinion, sales is the most noble profession on the world. There is no problem in life that doesn't get solved without sales engagement being there. Sales is about helping people. It's about serving people. It's about helping people overcome, getting people to their best place and helping them make fantastic decisions that change their life. And you, if you are in business, you are a salesperson. If you are taking breath on this planet, you are a salesperson because you are selling people and stuff every single day. The difference is you're doing it on accident. I want you to now be able to do it on purpose just by being aware. Right. And if you don't have that skill set, reach out and get them done. Find somebody who can mentor you. And if you do, then it's your job to not just understand it, but master it and perfect it, hone that craft, because that's what's going to be able to build the bridge between you and that person who desperately needs you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful advice. And it's all about how you decide you're going to run your business, isn't it? How you're going to show up in it. And those fears, they have to be dealt with. All this, money programming, it has to be got out of the way in order to grow your business, because that stuff is going to keep coming up again and again and again until you deal with it.
Amen to that.
How did you pick yourself up when you had setbacks? Because you said that, you made a lot of mistakes. You obviously learned from them. You picked yourself back up. You kept going. How did you do that in those moments when things felt really bleak for you and you felt, I'm not sure if I can get back up and do this again?
Well, you start like those experience units. Once you survive something, you realize there's some sort of limit factor here. Like, okay, I experienced some pain, but it didn't kill me. So my crazy mind was like, well, okay, if I could survive that, then I could surely survive that. But I'm not sure about that one. Well, until that one hits you, then you realize, holy cow, I could survive that too. Right. And then you fall down on your face and you get back up and dang, I keep falling. And I have the bigger risks I take, the bigger falls I have. And everything doesn't kill you. Not much will. Right. As long as you can get yourself back up, you start realizing that everything has a lesson, everything has an outcome, and you just have to be willing to survive the lessons. I don't know of any story in life, whether fictional, biblical, or just pure reality, where the greater the outcome, there wasn't a really powerful overcoming, a hurdle to solve, a problem to solve, a pain to experience, right? There's a myth that people think we're just going to have massive success and we want to do it all with grace, joy, and ease. That's great, but that doesn't come until you've learned some stuff. And usually those learnings come with some pain and some struggle. So you just have to learn that it's okay. You just got to understand your pain tolerance. My wife actually says sometimes that she wishes that my pain tolerance wasn't so high. She said the term she uses, she wishes my shoulders weren't so round. I don't let anything bother me. Almost nothing can to trigger me, piss me off. I don't care because it's just people. It's just stuff. The moment something happens, I'm immediately going, that's interesting. Why did that happen? I don't take anything personal. You can't offend me.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And I mean that. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm just curious. It says a lot more about you than me.
Absolutely.
And so, but as a problem, sometimes, it's like if the reason that if you get close to the stove, you feel heat, that's to keep you from touching the stove. Right. Well, in Cindy's mindset of me, sometimes I touch the stove too often because I have a high pain tolerance because I've endured so much.
I get it.
Yeah, so I ignore stuff that maybe I shouldn't ignore. So sometimes, where she's very sensitive to it, she gets it. She's got a keen awareness, of
Yes.
problem solving.
Amazing. And I just wanted to ask you how our listeners and our viewers can find out more about you and your work, because I think they're going to be absolutely riveted by this conversation.
Yeah, well, there's two places I'd like to invite you. One, we have a Facebook group called See You at 7, and it's SEEYOU at the number 7, which I'm sure the link will be in the show notes here.
Yeah.
And then we also have a program. It's called Leads Made Easy. And if you haven't noticed by now, I do things a little differently. So I don't, the first $2 million we ever made in our business, we never spent a penny on marketing. We still don't spend a ton. My client calendar is full because of relationships, results, and referrals. And I have a system called Leads Made Easy, which is about how to actually do that intentionally. I think everybody loves to have referrals. Most people don't actually know how to set your business up to make that your intention. And this is a quick process. It's something that we put together. It's intended to be a 5-day challenge. So it's short exercises that you can put into play immediately that helps you identify who a really strong strategic partner would be for you in ways that you haven't thought of. I promise you haven't been through anything like this exercise before. And we discounted for $47 for your people. And it's Leads Made Easy. And again, I'll get you the same, the notes here, the link in the show notes, but it's oh man, I'm sure I'm being irresponsible right now because I didn't get you
That's okay. We can get the link.
We'll get the link.
And we'll put in the show notes. So that's absolutely fine. And thank you for sharing that with us. And for anyone who wants to have easy sales conversations, I'm sure this is going to be an amazing program to take part in and make life easier. That's all we want. We want easier life to be as business owners.
And we try to make it a super simple. I mean, for $47, it's no big deal. If you can't pay the $47, reach out to me. We can give it to you, whatever. You need to have it. And get into that Facebook group and engage us. I'm there. My team's there. The whole goal is to, see you at 7 because we want to help you make your first 7 figures or your next 7. And we're there to help you. Just tap into our team, ask questions, and get resources.
I'm really sad to wrap up this call because it's been an eye-opener. I don't think I've ever had such a powerful conversation with anyone on my podcast. And I really thank you for being so open and so honest about everything you've been through. I'm sure it's going to have a huge effect on everyone who's been listening in. And I thank you for that.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope so.
And thank you for everyone who's been watching and listening. I know you will have got a ton of huge value from this. Thank you so much for being here with us. Until next time, bye-bye for now.